This is the Jerry Hicks Show, your home for common sense content 5 nights a week, right here on the Censored Freedom Network. Now, here is your host, Jerry Hicks.
Thank you so much, Dave, and thank you, everybody, for being here this evening. I hope everybody has had an incredible week. I know I've been having a great one. Ladies and gentlemen, we have rebranded officially across all of our channels over on BitChute, Rumble, YouTube, Twitter, all of them. We are the Jerry Hicks Show now. America first, no apologies. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. And if you wouldn't mind sharing us out everywhere, we would really, really appreciate that as we continue to try to grow this channel organically, which is something that I'm finding is actually impossible on the internet. But ladies and gentlemen, we have a lot of stuff to get into tonight, so I won't take up too much of your time on this, but do make sure you like, sub, share, all that good stuff to help the channel out. Ladies and gentlemen, we are definitely trying to do the thing over here. Also, check out Censored Freedom Network, which we're very, very proud to be a part of, over on the X platform. He's been putting the show up over there for me every day, and then I've been sharing it also over on my X channel. So you guys make sure you are subbed to both of those, or following both of those to make sure you catch up with all the updates and new shows. We got something very, very funny coming up at the end of the show, folks, so make sure you stick around for that. A little something I made up. So I hope you guys like it. I think you will. But before we do, folks, we've got a lot of news to get into. So let's do just that. Let's hop over here to the news rack. All right, ladies and gentlemen, the Protection Racket Media Update. USAID funded not only the New York Times and the BBC and Politico, but also the AP too. Ladies and gentlemen, all of the propaganda systems in this country that called themselves news sources, which absolutely were not, and we'll get to more on that here in just a second, were all being funded by an arm of the government. You know what that means, right? You guys know what that means. That means that if any time they had something that they wanted the media to push, all they had to do was say, we'll take your funding or you'll do this. Do you see why they went full bore against Trump? Do you see why they all go lockstep in any story and tell you your disinformation if you agree with their narrative? Because the government literally has the ability to tell them you will pursue this narrative or else. And the Democrats, as we know, are more likely than not leveraging this very much to their advantage. Ladies and gentlemen, this is disgusting. This is absolutely disgusting. There's no reason the government should be subsidizing the media. None at all. USAID was spending $268 million to fund over 6,000 approved journalists. This pisses me off. At the same time, they were spending millions to silence conservative, independent media like the Gateway Pundit. And the Gateway Pundit isn't the only one. As a matter of fact, we know that a lot of this money was going to places like Center for Countering Digital Hate, which is actually Center for Countering Anything They Don't Like. What is the other one? There was another one in here. There might be the other article I was reading. That we might come to that here in just a moment. But these were the ones that were going to different organizations and saying, hey, we're not going to fund you if you don't say things our way. And because you don't, we're going to label you misinformation. According to Bad Kitty, the researcher here, Restless Development is funded. Restless Development is another company that partnered with Countering Digital Hate. It was an organization to counter, blacklist, censor, and silence COVID disinformation in 20. So anybody that spoke against the COVID narrative, right, is who they were looking to silence, literally silence, as well as the Center for Countering Digital Hate, which again is anything they don't like. Anything they don't like, not actual hate speech. The Obama Foundation was working with this. According to Bad Kitty, Restless Development is funded by numerous big money leftist groups like the Obama Foundation, the USAID, the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, the Clinton Health Initiative, Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, United Nations, the Swedish International Development Corporation Agency, Norwegian Agency for Exchange Cooperation, Irish Aid, Foreign Commonwealth and Development, Ford Foundation, and Danish International Development. Ladies and gentlemen, in 2020, NewsGuard, a so-called fact-checking organization that targets conservatives, was also being funded through USAID. In 2021, liberal activists were successful in having Google ban the Gateway Pundit. I believe we have a video here on that.
Gateway Pundit. So they raised millions of dollars of revenue from Google Ads, and 1.1 million just in 7 months. I'm very proud to tell you that our campaign Stop Funding Misinformation, that story was actually featured in Forbes magazine in the US. I think it was last weekend. Google took them off their display network after a year of campaigning by CCDH, and they are now demonetized, which means that they will not be able to spread their nonsense any further.
The Gateway Pundit, ladies and gentlemen, is who he's talking about. The nonsense he's talking about is conservative news that we cover here every single day.
Or with the scale and speed. So they raised millions of dollars of revenue from Google Ads.
Apologies, I didn't.
And 1.1 million just in 7 months. I'm very proud to tell you that our campaign Stop Funding Misinformation, that story was actually...
Stop Funding Misinformation was their campaign, right? Who gets to decide what's misinformation?
Featured in Forbes magazine in the US. I think it was last weekend.
Wouldn't Galileo have been misinformation? Wouldn't Copernicus have been misinformation? Wouldn't have Leonardo da Vinci been misinformation?
Google took them off their display network after a year of campaigning
Newton
by CCDH, and they are now demonetized, which means that they will not be able to spread their nonsense any further, or with the scale and speed that they were able to before. And that's another thing that I'm very proud of my team.
So this guy's very proud, has no qualms with the fact that he helped to try to, he didn't succeed, but tried to help silence the Gateway Pundit. He got Google to pull all of their ad revenue. Yeah. Just because he didn't like things they said. They didn't agree with his narrative. They also went after G News, Zero Hedge, Great Game India, Waking Times, GlobalResearch.sa, TR.news, EvolvePolitics.com, RebelNews.com, The Canary, .co, Politicalite.com, Dortseye, UnityNewsNetwork.co.uk, Breitbart, What's Up With That, Voice of Europe, American Thinker, American Greatness, Moon Battery, Big League Politics, that's just American Thinker again, WND.com, Washington Standard, Gateway Pundit, West Monster, Climate Depot, Electroverse, and JunkScience.com. So any site that they did not agree with, they did their best to lobby and try to get ad revenue removed and basically to blacklist these folks from being journalists and doing their job. Why does this piss me off so much? I will gladly tell you why this pisses me off so much. Because there's a document called the Constitution. And according to the Constitution, if you have a camera of any type, and we all carry cameras around with us all day, every day, in our phones, which I tried to grab and dropped on the ground, with our phones right here, we got cameras on the back of them. We're journalists. Every single person in this country is a journalist. You don't have to have credentials. You don't have to have approval. There's no organization for you to go through and get a special permit to be a journalist. And this is what pisses them off. Because for years they have held the monopoly on journalism, and we've said, okay, no problem. But now we have a new function, folks. We have the internet now, and they're not able to completely control journalism anymore. You don't have only approved narratives coming out anymore. And even when they do, let me rephrase that, when the narratives do come out, you've got people like us, the misinformation Mongols, that are actually out here finding the truth and exposing it left, right, and center. You know how you know that there's something that's hit home with the mainstream media, they go full force against it. Take the Politico thing. We know Politico was absolutely being funded by USAID. That's not even a question. Unless you read a newspaper or actually listen to the mainstream propaganda system, which will tell you that no, that's not what's actually going on, folks. Politico never received any money from USAID according to them, which is bullshit. This is why Politico couldn't pay their bills this month, right? This is why their employees didn't get paid, right? Because they weren't receiving aid or nothing. Their money didn't get dried up. No, that's not what happened, really. This pisses me off if you can't tell, because they want to act like there's only certain ones that are allowed to be journalists. Folks, according to the Constitution, as long as you have this right here, you're a journalist. Rep. Nancy Mace reveals millions of taxpayer dollars spent on shocking experiments to create transgender monkeys, rats, and more. Does that disturb you, folks? I mean, we've known, it was brought up to me earlier tonight, we have known for a while that there were weird and goofy studies going on in our government. We just didn't know what they really were. Now we do. And now I'm more aggravated than I was then. $2.5 million in taxpayer money to study the fertility of transgender mice. I know, it makes my head hurt too. $1.1 million to determine whether female rats receiving testosterone therapies could mimic transgender men and were more likely to overdose on party drugs. What? I'm going to reread that. They were trying to determine whether female rats receiving testosterone therapy to mimic transgender men were more likely to overdose on party drugs. $1.1 million to get the rats high. Taxpayer dollars used to forcibly transition male monkeys to see if hormone therapy made them susceptible to HIV. Animal cruelty, anybody? If the right side were doing this, they would be completely up in arms and calling us every kind of monster in the book. Right? Clearly, these aren't right-wing ideas, right-wing programs that are funded. This is the kind of stuff that our government has been screwing us with and spending our tax money on. Need proof USAID funding is being utilized to orchestrate coup d'etats? Look no further than the Biden administration, ladies and gentlemen. He told us.
Well, I was, not but it just happened to be that was the assignment I got. I got all the good ones. So I got Ukraine. And I remember going over convincing our team, or others too, convincing us that we should be providing for loan guarantees. And I went over for, I guess, the 12th, 13th time to Kyiv, and I was supposed to announce that there was another $1 billion loan guarantee. And I had gotten a commitment from Poroshenko and from Yatsenyuk that they would take action against the state prosecutor, and they didn't. So they said they were walking out to press conference. I said, no, I said, we're not going to give you the $1 billion.
Now, mind you, this is aid money, folks.
They said, you have no authority. You're not the president. The president said. I said, call him. I said, I'm telling you, you're not getting the $1 billion. I said, you're not getting the $1 billion. I'm going to be leaving here. And I think it was, 6 hours? I said, I'm leaving in 6 hours. If the prosecutor's not fired, you're not getting the money. Well, son of a bitch. Got fired.
Well, what do you know? You used the USAID funding against them, and they did what you wanted. Huh. And ran a coup for his son in another country. Stopped the prosecution. A country that we know that he sent billions and billions to during his term. A country we know that is used for heavy money laundering. Yeah. He said it right in front of us, ladies and gentlemen. He made it very clear that he was using this aid money to hold it over their heads. Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy stomps on Hillary Clinton. This is actually kind of hilarious. I'm going to jump over here to the X platform. Shout out to X. U.S. Airlines had gone 16 years without fatal crashes, according to Hillary Clinton. Then MAGA fired the FAA chief, gutted the Aviation Security Advisory Committee, and threatened air traffic controllers with layoffs. Now there's been 2 fatal crashes. Hope your unvetted 22-year-olds fix things fast. Secretary of State Sean Duffy clapped back to the previous secretary. Madam Secretary, with all due respect, experienced Washington bureaucrats are the reason our nation's infrastructure is crumbling. You need to sit this one out. And he could not have been more right. And, you know, the way she worded this here really makes me curious, folks. Because she's pointing directly to the fatal crashes the last couple of days. Even though we're just coming out of a Democrat administration. It almost, if I didn't know any better, if I didn't think that she was, you know, not really a serial killer, doesn't really have a pile of bodies behind her, then if I didn't know that, of course, you know, then I would think that maybe she was behind some of these accidents. Silly thought, I know. Who would say such a thing? Trump orders the GSA to cancel every single media contract. So probably like most of you, I said, what is the GSA? So we went and looked it up. General Services Administration. This is supposed to be an independent agency of the U.S. government. Yeah, those words don't belong in the same sentence. Independent agency and U.S. government. No, that's not a real thing. Established in 1949 to help manage and support the basic functioning of federal agencies. Supplies products and communication for U.S. government offices. Ladies and gentlemen, these were the ones most likely helping these 6,000 journalists. Remember last night we talked about Project Mockingbird and how they paid certain journalists to do exactly what they want and to push their stories? Now we've got the evidence. Now we've got the proof that that was actually what was happening. I'm not sure why GSA had any media contract. Maybe I'm kind of ignorant on this one. I don't know. But they won't have any more, as the mainstream media that has fought against Trump, the fake news that has fought against Donald Trump for so long, will now be paying their dues. What else do we have here? Out of the New York Post, we have the uncut 60 Minutes Kamala Harris interview. Folks, what they did was underhanded, dirty, illegal, no good, and not something that is supposed to happen. It's election interference. What 60 Minutes did is underhanded, dirty, crooked election interference. I'd almost bet that 60 Minutes was getting some of this USAID money. I don't have that for fact yet. Give it a day or two. We will find out. Right? A lot of this money was being funneled into NGOs, non-government organizations. Different charities were then funneling in other charities, which funneled in other charities, which funneled down to stuff like this. But it's still the same U.S. aid money that has no business funding fake news. And then you get stuff like Kamala Harris, who did nothing but a whole word salad. They've released the actual interview, ladies and gentlemen, showing what she actually said. And it was not the interview that you've seen aired on 60 Minutes, folks. They cut and chopped and maneuvered that whole interview into sounding like something that didn't even happen. That's election interference, when you try to pass it off for something that is absolutely genuine, when you know without a shadow of a doubt, because you're the one that edited it, that it is absolutely not what happened. If Trump's side would have done anything like this, if any right-leaning organization would have done this, they would have had the weight of the federal government brought down on them within moments. You would still be hearing about it today. You know why you didn't hear much about it? Because it was the left side, the side that the propaganda machine actually supports. We don't have news media organizations in this country anymore, folks. We've got activist organizations. The only real news media is right here on the internet. The alternative media sources. I'm not saying just me. I know there's a whole 3 people watching me. Shout out to you guys. But the real bigger alternative media sources out here on the internet are what people are actually flocking to now. Why? Because they're not doing dirty, underhanded moves to try to maneuver what they want as an activist organization. You finally got people back out here that are literally reading the news. Yeah, I'm a bit opinionated myself, but I'm reading the news. Yes, what I would be doing would be considered activism. Yeah, I am very much one-sided. I will admit that. I have no problem admitting that. But I'm not trying to pass myself off as an authoritative news source when I'm clearly news and opinion. Right? Honesty in reporting, honesty in journalism. We've got a lot of judges, ladies and gentlemen, that are now starting to try to backtrack everything Trump is doing. We knew this was coming. We absolutely knew every single thing Trump does is going to be challenged in court to the best of their ability. The Birthright Citizenship Executive Order has had a nationwide injunction issued, which means it's going to be put on hold momentarily until they determine what that actually means. Did we see this one coming? Yeah. This is not a surprise. I expected nothing less than this to go to court. But at least it starts the conversation. That's not the only judge that's trying to attempt lawfare and fight against the American citizen. Remember, ladies and gentlemen, what Trump is doing. Especially if you're on the left, hear me out. Listen to these words really close. What Trump is doing is what we have asked him to do. You've got a lot of Democrats right now that are trying to pretend that this side is some kind of upset about what's happening. I don't know what little goofy reality bubble they're living in, but I can tell you I've not seen a single conservative or MAGA person who is any bit at all concerned with what's going on. As a matter of fact, we're more than happy with what we're getting because this is more than even we expected. If you're MAGA right now, you're throwing parties and whistling Dixie, you're the happiest dude in this earth. Or woman, person. There we go. But you get what I mean. None of us regret voting for Trump. We're more happy now than we were before. As a matter of fact, the more news comes out, the more he dismantles this bullshit going on in the government, the happier we are. The only one upset about this is the left side. We don't have buyer's remorse like you did. We didn't pick an idiot like you did. And I'm not convinced you guys picked him either, by the way. I think Biden made his own way in there. That's my opinion. A judge blocks Trump's order sending transgender prisoners to the correct prison. If you're a male, you're a male. If you're a female, you're a female. That's it. There's 2 choices. We don't have 975 fucking genders. We don't have it. We're humans. We're not aliens. We're not dogs. I don't know of any other species ever who's had more than 2 genders either, by the way. Maybe a third hermaphrodite by very, very rare case. But that's 0.00001% of the population, so I'm not sure how big a portion they really count for. Voice-wise. Pretty sure it's not much. 2 genders. And you need to go to the prison that your gender's assigned to. If you're a male, you go to a male prison. If you're a female, you go to a female prison. There's a reason that was set up the way it was set up. Trump buyout offer for federal employees has been been paused by another federal judge hours before the deadline takes place. So now they'll have longer to take their federal buyout, I guess. Or maybe Trump will just be brutal when the time's up and he just says, hey, you're done. I'm not opposed to that. This is lawfare, ladies and gentlemen. They're trying to stop Trump at every corner. We heard Al Green last night. We'll get back to him at the end of the show. We heard Al Green last night talking about impeaching Trump. We're going to impeach Trump. Ladies and gentlemen, that only took 2 weeks. They are not really wanting to impeach Trump for doing anything wrong. They want to impeach Trump for doing everything right. For hurting their Chinese masters, for stopping the aid to their lobbyist friends that have been paying them, for stopping Big Pharma's aid, for stopping Big Tobacco's aid, for stopping Big Media's aid. Think of all the favors they owe these media people. Yeah. Think about that. So, folks, they're fighting Trump at every turn. Not because they want to, not because there's anything wrong with what Trump's doing. It's because their masters are telling them to. And ladies and gentlemen, the American people are not their masters. I'll say it every night on this show if I have to. Even if I am screaming into a void or an echo chamber. The American people are not the masters of at least the left side politicians or any of the rhinos. Their lobbying, corporatist, Chinese owners are their masters. And this is how you can tell who's controlled and who's not. Who's for this country and who's not. Trump vows to sanction International Criminal Court with executive order after Senate Democrats, surprise, surprise, block bill that would have sanctioned them for targeting Israel and putting out warrants for the arrest of Netanyahu. So, the Democrats are mad, hot mad, that Trump actually wants to take action against the International Criminal Court. Of course, they're going to say, well, he's a felon. Of course, he don't like the criminal courts. The criminal courts are criminals, folks. Israel gets bombed. Israel gets attacked. Israel gets has things done to it that are absolutely heinous. But when they fight back, it's Israel's fault? No. Not at all. And then what's being claimed is absolute horse hockey. It's not even true. But now the criminal court is going to pay for what they're doing because Trump's going to sanction them. And we see that every time Trump lays sanctions on somebody or tariffs on somebody, they tend to perk their ears up and listen all of a sudden. Michigan Democrat. I told you we're going to have funny stuff at the end, folks. This one here's hilarious. This ain't what I meant. We got one more funny thing coming up with Al Green. But this here, folks, Michigan Democrat state legislator sterilizes herself to avoid giving birth in Donald Trump's America. I don't think she understands the way this works. You can't unsterilize yourself, folks. This woman will never birth children, thank God for the planet, because she looks like she's a few fries short of a Happy Meal. And then the fact that she did this against Trump tells us she's about 1 or 2 fries short of a Happy Meal, if that. She sterilized herself because Trump will be in office for 4 years. She's got the rest of her life. She won't have children, but Trump will only be in office for 4 years. Does anybody else see the super stupidity here? But you know what? I hope a lot of leftists. I take it back. I think this is an amazing idea. I think every leftist out there should go sterilize themselves in what's the word I'm looking for? Revolt against Donald Trump. Yes. To revolt against Donald Trump, you need to go sterilize yourself and stop having kids on the left. That would be perfect. Just like this lady did. I think this lady's got the right idea. That's all I'm saying. Democrat Rep. Ayanna Pressley berates Iowa governor for her state being too white. Doesn't reflect our country. Ladies and gentlemen, here's how you know. I kept this in here for a reason. This is how you know if something is racist. Let's change some wording here. Democrat representative berates Iowa governor for her state being too black. Oh, that ain't good. Oh, that sounds racist. How about being too yellow? Oh, that's racist. Too white is also racist. This is a racist speaking, accusing the Iowa governor of her state not having the right population. Think about what she's saying. Do you see the super stupidity here? I think she should follow the lead of that last story. Maybe she should revolt against Trump by getting sterilized too. It might reflect better on our country. Absolutely racist, but wants you to think MAGA's racist. These are the same people that say MAGA are racist. Folks, they don't know what racism is. According to them, if you're white, you can't have racism perpetrated against you. Think of the utter stupidity of what she is saying. The governor's state is too white. How about it's too black? How about it's too purple? How about it's too yellow? How about it's too Asian? Oh, that doesn't sound good. In 2024, she complained about white men failing up. Ladies and gentlemen, I must have lost my white privilege card somewhere along the way, or my white privilege anything. I've never failed up. Every failure I've had, and it's been many, has been down. Hey, I'm a white man. Why can't I get traction on the internet? Oh, because it has nothing to do with skin color. Do you see the stupidity here? Ladies and gentlemen, I found a tool, and I don't mean a person this time. No, it's not another Republican. This is actually a very, very good tool. If you go over to X and go to Data Republican, and then in parentheses the words small r, he has developed a program, it looks like over here, folks, where you're able to search through the different funding from USAID, among others. This particular page is showing government NGO tracking. Tim Walz is the governor pulled up here specifically. I didn't pull this up. I literally just clicked on it. Federal funding. You've got charity funding. What you're able to do here, folks, basically is follow the white rabbit. Follow where all of the funding is actually going. There's a chart here if you want to dig into it. It's a great big flow chart. It was describing what I described earlier to you guys when I was telling you about the different organizations and NGOs and this and that. Apparently the Hillary, and I know I'm scrolling out, somewhere in here is Hillary and Chelsea and Bill Clinton, who got something like $8 million from taxpayer alone. Is that it right here? I'm pretty sure it's not. No, that's the Heart Association. But it shows where all of your tax money has been sent to and wasted on. As a matter of fact, this particular graph specifically is showing $240 million in tax money, which is relatively a small amount compared to everything else. But again, if you're interested, datarepublican.com, datarepublican.com. And you're going to find this useful tool. Maybe you guys can make a little more of it than I can. There's so much information here. It would take me days to figure out what this is all saying. But this is where you guys come in. This is where the researchers come in. You guys can dig into all this, figure out what it really means, and see where a lot of this data and information is going, or money, is going in this data and information. So check it out. Once again, datarepublican.com. He don't even know... I know he don't know that I'm pushing this site because I didn't reach out to them. I just found it earlier on X, and I thought it was absolutely brilliant. Republicans aim to send disastrous ranked choice voting into extinction. Ladies and gentlemen, ranked choice voting is another way for the communists to get rid of any actual American in the vote, any Republican in the vote. This was another way for them to take over and create a one-party system in this country. And ladies and gentlemen, that's what the Democrats want. That's exactly what the Democrats want. They want a one-party system in this country. And they're going to do everything they can to get it. I want you guys to remember every single day the pain you have felt the last 4 years. the pain you have felt in your wallet, the inability to go places, the inability to enjoy your life, the inability to have money and barely even able to pay your bills, the inability to go to the grocery store and spend a decent amount of money to get enough food to last you for a decent amount of time. Every single day, I want you to remember this. And then in 4 years, if there's a Democrat Party left, they need to be punished again and again and again. Because they did nothing to help this country, folks. Every single thing the Democrats have done in 12 years, 8 of which were Democrat, has been to hurt and destroy this country. They hate you. I can't make that any more clear. They hate you. I don't say that hyperbolically. I'm being serious. They consider you as nothing better than a cow. A useless eater. Those are their words, not mine. So remember the pain. Remember every day as things get better. Remember what the Democrats did to you. Remember how they did everything they could to destroy this country systematically from the inside. Remember how they opened the borders and made sure that everybody coming in the door got treated better than you did. Remember it, folks. Don't forget. Every single day, remember what the Democrats did to you in this country and how close they come to destroying this country. Before we go, ladies and gentlemen, I got to listening to Al Green last night on the show, of course, and we heard him talk about the dastardly deeds, and I thought this was kind of funny. Check this out. I put this together myself.
Muttley, do something!
I rise to announce that the movement to impeach the president has begun. I rise to announce that I will bring articles of impeachment against the president for dastardly deeds proposed and dastardly deeds done. I also rise to say that the impeachment movement is going to be a grass-up movement, not a top-down. The people have got to move forward. The people have to demand it. And when the people demand it, it will be done. I did it before. I laid the foundation for impeachment, and it was done. Nobody knows more about it than I. And I know that it's time for us to lay the foundation again. On some issues, it is better to stand alone than not stand at all. On this issue, I stand alone, but I stand for justice. I yield.
I suppose this means you want another medal. Yeah. Well, forget it. I'm fresh out of medals.
I hope you guys enjoyed that. Like I said, I put that together. I thought it'd be kind of funny. Hope you guys like it. With that said, folks, I am Jerry Hicks. This has been another episode of the Jerry Hicks Show. Make sure you follow us on X, Twitter, YouTube, BitChute, Rumble, even over on the TikTok. Follow us everywhere, folks. Share us out. Help us grow this channel. We can't do it without you. Until tomorrow night, ladies and gentlemen, stay awake, but dare to dream. Bye, everybody.